Today I'm going to be taking a look at one of Nickelodeon's most forgotten shows, The Mighty Bee. Now, I genuinely don't think I've seen almost any of the show, but one scene for some reason has lived in my mind ever since I was a young boy. Going through the channels, just clicking away, I remember stumbling upon The Mighty Bee and seeing the character named Bessie, who I think is the main character of the show, just going about her business with her lisp, just being like, "Oh, hey guys, I'm so excited for the day. We're the bees and we're so mighty, oh gosh." And then she like slipped off of a chair and it made a big old stanky fart noise, and she had to go to court because girls aren't allowed to release that stank. So that doesn't sound like it's gonna be the best show in the world, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I just landed on a bad episode 15 years ago. I don't know. I'm about to find out by watching some of the best episodes, some of the worst episodes, and some random episodes to see, does The Mighty Bee deserve to be forgotten? Is it just slop, or is it actually a good show? And if you like content just like this, please make sure to like and subscribe. I'll make it worth your while. Now let's finally take a look at The Mighty Bee. Taking a look at the very first episode that Mighty Bee has to offer, which is called So Happy Together. It just so happens to be the highest rated episode in the series, and before we even get into the episode, I have a lot to say there. I want to talk about the introduction song, the song that is supposed to get you hitting a jig, getting excited for your favorite 11 minutes of television, The Mighty Bee. I did not like it. Something about it feels like ritualistic torture. Like, if I listened to it over and over again, I would go insane. I kind of feel like I'm being tied up, all four of my limbs just pinned down, and they bring out a eldritch horror, a giant queen bee, to do dirty, nasty things to me, to be its coitus, so that we could repopulate the earth with half human, half bees. And I know some of you, just upon listening to that, you're foaming at the mouth saying, "It should have been me!" But just go and listen to this song, or I'll probably play a clip of it. I don't like it. Or even better, Omni-Man himself would be like, "Mark, we could do this. We could finally be bees," and then Omni-Man would start pounding me instead of an eldritch horror bee. It's just a weird concept to have this song just not hit any of the right notes or any of the right feelings that a intro song is supposed to hit. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a little bit too negative, but I didn't like the intro song very much. Going into the actual episode, I actually did have a pretty decent time. I think Bessie, the main character, the Mighty Bee you could call her, is a very interesting character, but I honestly think that she might have a couple of screws loose. Like, maybe there's something underlying that needs to be diagnosed about her, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but she does a lot of things like talking to things that aren't actually there, imagining things that aren't actually there, and it's all fine because she's a kid, and she's very imaginative. But when she's in high stress situations, and you know, she's feeling sad, she's feeling emotional, and she's still talking to herself, maybe, just maybe, there's something going on up there. I don't know, just wanted to throw that out there. But the beginning of the episode, you have Bessie just going around town. Everybody loves her. Everybody's having a great time with her as she's going to meet up with her bee troop, the Mighty Bees, where she could get some badges and whatnot. Very exciting. And I actually do like the concept of the show where she like walks into a restaurant in Chinatown and the animation switches and she becomes the Mighty Bee and starts fighting a bunch of ninjas, but she's actually just imagining it all and everybody's watching her just fight the air and fight nothing. That's kind of, you know, my inkling number one that maybe something's going on in the head when she's having these hallucinogenic bouts of super-powered nonsense. And again, it could just be a child's imagination, you know, nothing too special, like I shouldn't be worrying too much. She gets a dumpling and she goes on the road. Nothing really that much going on. So she eventually finds her friends, or the mean girls you could call them, and they have a dog, and apparently there's gonna be a big dog show, so that means Bessie wants to also be in the dog show, so she has to go and find her own dog. And she initially is just asking her mom repeatedly over and over and over again, and maybe it's because I don't have any spawn, maybe it's because I don't have any little tiny children, but just something about a child who also talks in the way Bessie talks, just being like, "Alright, so reason 736 of why I really really need a dog. Oh God, I would walk it. I would take it outside and I would walk it and oh God, I would stare at it and I would brush its hair. Oh God, you know, maybe it's just because I don't have any little spawns running around that came from my innards. Maybe I would rip its trachea out if it kept asking me questions. I don't know. Maybe I don't have that feeling of being able to deal with the annoyance, but just listening to her say so many reasons with her lisp, it was driving me a little bit insane. The mother eventually does cave and they could get a dog, so Bessie goes out to find a dog with her little brother. And they find the Chad of all Chad dogs. He's literally mogging, just, you know, pressing his chin in to make himself look extra fine, because he wants scratches and meat. And immediately, the second Bessie puts a collar and a leash on him, he no longer is all about this whole slavery nonsense.
Things. How would you like to be my dog? I'm gonna take that as a yes.
He does not want to be a slave. He hears the words dog show, and he immediately just is begging for freedom. And so they start taking him around to do a bunch of dog things to get him all teached up so that he could compete in this. And eventually it's dog show day, and the dog runs away and doesn't want to be in the dog show, and Bessie lets him go. And this is the scene where I highlight that, you know, I understand she's imaginative. Maybe the reason she's constantly talking to things that aren't there, imagining things that aren't there, is because she's a kid. But then she's having this scene where she's on the verge of tears, she's crying, and she doesn't know how to deal with her emotions. And she's still just doing this thing where she's like, I gotta let the dog go, but I need the dog, but I want the dog, but I need the dog. You know, it's just kind of giving me the vibe that maybe this little girl needs help.
I don't need anybody. I'll do this thing by myself. Beat it. Stay, please. Get out of here.
Maybe just a little bit of help. And so the dog eventually has a change of heart and comes back, and they ultimately have a great wondrous dog show where the dog is twerking, hitting the worm, doing all that nonsense. It's good, wholesome fun. And Pacifica, or Patricia, or whatever the fuck the mean girl's name is, her dog turns out to be a rat, and she I don't know who animated this scene, but her reaction to finding out that she was holding a rat the entire time, even though it was in her arms the entire episode, is just brilliant. It was animated so well that it looks hilarious.
That's a rat!
Other than that, that's pretty much how the episode ends. The dog and Bessie are happy, and that's just wondrous, wonderful, everything you could possibly need. Overall, it was a pretty decent episode, and obviously, I'm just looking into Bessie's potential insanity for the comedy. I don't think she's actually like that. I think it's just, you know, played for laughs. It's imaginative. It's a cartoon. But I think they actually have something pretty good going here. So, I mean, I know I'm looking at the best episode in the series, but there were some really good things. I do kind of like when it switches over to the Mighty Bee art style where Bessie gets super buff and starts doing like some superhero stuff. And then I think she's just a very endearing character where, although she's very loud, she's very in your face, I still think she's very entertaining throughout the entire thing. And the plot was overall really fun. I liked her relationship with the dog. I thought it was good. I thought it was fun. If I was to rate this episode 1 to 10, I would probably give it a solid 7 out of 10. It was decent. Now, taking a look at one of the worst episodes in the series, I have the episode It's Bee's Party and She'll Cry If She Wants To. And this episode all revolves around Bessie really wanting a surprise. And I do actually like the introduction where Bessie is just surprising people and scaring the devil out of them. Oh, gosh.
Surprise!
It's actually a very funny sequence. And then they decide, instead of doing anything interesting for the next 10 minutes, they're going to just have Bessie going around town being like, ooh, it's a surprise party? For me? You're gonna give me a surprise party? Ooh, what? I better go to the cupcake shop and look at the cupcakes. My favorite cupcakes aren't there. I must be getting a surprise party. Oh, yeah, she genuinely does that for 11 fucking minutes, where she's just going around to different places, asking and just hinting at the fact that she wants a surprise party, and that's all that happens, genuinely, until the last 5 seconds of the episode. That is pretty much it. I like this one scene where she's like doing her surprise faces and practicing how surprised she's going to get, and it just shows like the people on the other side of the mirror who are eating dinner, and they're reacting to this terrifying lispy child just outside of their building, just doing amalgamation faces at them. I liked that because she just looked like an eldritch horror. But everything else is just boring. Like, who wants to sit there and watch her just go, God, I can't wait for my surprise party. It's gonna be so good. My surprise party, it's gonna be so good. My surprise party, it's gonna be so good. My surprise party, it's gonna be so good. Did you think that went on for too long? Did you think I was doing that for too long? Imagine 11 minutes of that. Oh boy, get excited. Ah! Yeah, so then at the final hour, Bessie comes home and she doesn't have a surprise party, so she gets sad, she gets really depressed, and she's sitting on the couch, and then she looks up, and there's a surprise. Everybody's on the ceiling, and then she has a massive panic attack and starts spinning on the floor. That's pretty much the entire episode. So, if you're interested in 11 minutes of surprise party, followed up by a animated child spinning on the floor while losing their mind, then this is the episode for you. Other than that, if I was to rate it 1 to 10, I would give it a solid, like, 3. Like, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen. It's just outright boring. Taking a look at, again, one of the best episodes in the series, one of the highest rated, I have the episode Sweet 16th, and this episode is definitely just okay. The episode revolves around Bessie really wanting to ride this roller coaster, but she turns out to not be tall enough for it, and she does a bunch of shenanigans, a bunch of hijinks to try to be able to ride the roller coaster, and just everything, it never really feels like it has a climax. I do really enjoy this one scene, though, where Bessie, she genuinely is just so excited, she can't ride it, she's just crying and fiending, she's watching the other girls go on this awesome roller coaster, and as it's passing, one of the rich girls says, I'm finally living, I know what it is to be alive, and as she gets to the top, she says that short people have no reason. How the fuck did that get past whoever has to watch this shit before it airs? They're basically saying because short people aren't tall enough, they can't enjoy the good things in life and they should fucking kill themselves. That was baffling to hear. That was wild. But I honestly thought it was hilarious. Whoever decided on that line, that was pretty ballsy, and I'll give you a big old peck, a big old smooch for that. That was really funny. Everything else is just fine. You have Bessie doing things like dressing up in a costume to try to get on the ride, trying to stretch her body. Like, they go to a museum and find that medieval, like, torture stretching machine, and Bessie tries to use that. She eventually goes to a factory and has a factory stretcher. That also doesn't work. And eventually, she just gets her dog to be angry at the guy. And then she gets to go on the roller coaster, and she goes on the roller coaster and throws up. That's pretty much the entire episode. I just found it to be extremely underwhelming. There was never anything that really stood out within this episode. Nothing that makes me want to come back and ever watch it again. So if I was to rate it 1 to 10, I'd probably just give it a 5 out of 10. There's nothing bad about the episode, but there's also really nothing that amazing about it either. Now taking a look at one of the worst rated episodes in the series, I have the episode B-Chip, which I actually did like more than one of the best rated episodes, which is always so odd. It feels like the IMD people are just the type of people that are like, I really didn't know what I wanted to rate this episode because I was too busy passionately kissing my Discord kitten through the phone. I sent her at least 2 kissy emojis during that movie, so I'm just gonna go ahead and put it as a 10 out of 10 or a 1 out of 10 and not give any actual thought to it. I don't know, IMDb isn't the best trusted source, but for terms of content and where to get my information from, it works for these videos. Either way, this episode was definitely a lot better than that best one that I just watched. The beginning of it was a little bit awful, where you have Happy showing up to Bessie a little bit late, and he's coming up in just rancid garbage spooge, he's covered in it, and Bessie starts kissing him, saying, where were you? And she gets it all over her body. And I don't know why every single animator seems to have the desire and implication that kids just love to see disgusting, horrible, heinous shit, because growing up, I didn't like it, none of my friends liked it, so growing up there was never a moment where I was just fiending for some gross out humor. Like, genuinely, I don't know what these parents are doing, because I guarantee you some of these animators, they have their own kids. Like, are you telling me that to make your kid laugh, you just walk into the room after you covered yourself in feces? Like, is that what you're doing? You don't tell your kids an actual joke, you know, they call them dad jokes for a reason. They're set up decently well, and they got a nice pun to it. They're dad jokes to make your kids fucking laugh. They're supposed to be cringe and stupid, but it's not like covering somebody in feces. I don't know. Maybe I'm just digging a little bit too deep into it. Either way, Bessie eventually decides to get Happy chipped so that she'll always know where he is, and he ends up getting a chip inside of his brain, which makes him act like a very good dog, a little bit too good. For example, he's just walking around and releases the stank, just a big old cloud of stank, and he's such a good dog, he sucks it right back into his ass. not something you see every day, but Bessie starts to think he's acting a little bit too good, and so she takes him to the vet and offers him a booster shot, and just to confirm that he is not being himself, he literally strips down his dog fur pants, and you get to see his bare gaping ass as he's ready for that booster shot, which confirms that he's a little bit odd.
I mean, who does that? It's not.
And Bessie's just saying shit like, I want my happy back, I need my happy back, please give me my happy back, and you just have the vet doctor just staring out the window just like, don't we all want our happy back?
Don't we all want our happy back?
That was a good joke. I liked that a lot. That was good. Poor depressed Doc, but that made me laugh. That gave me a little bit of a chuckle. And so Bessie decides that she needs to teach Happy to be a bad dog again. So she starts taking him to bad dog school, and then eventually Happy loses his mind and starts being too bad, destroying weddings, robbing banks, doing all that. But he's back to his normal self, and that's pretty much the entire episode. Nothing really else to say about it. Nothing too grandiose. It's just fine. If I was to rate it 1 to 10. I would give it like a 6 out of 10. I thought it was pretty entertaining. The only downside is that you have to watch a rancid dog covered in garbage get smooched and it ends up on her lips. Didn't like that aspect, but everything else was fine. It was entertaining. Taking a look at a random episode of The Mighty Bee, I chose the episode Toot. Now you're probably wondering, why would I choose an episode called Toot? I know the dangers, I know the implications, I know what this could possibly bring me. Well, I wanted to see if it was going to be that episode that I saw as a young child that made me never want to actually check out the show again. I wanted to prove that it just wasn't a PTSD nightmare, that it actually exists. And yep, it just so happened to be that episode that I saw as a kid, and it's not as bad as little me thought it was, but it is weird. It's very weird. Like, some of it's funny, and then there's some other scenes that I don't like very much. I don't know how to feel about it. The beginning of it, Bessie has a really good idea for what the Mighty Bees could possibly be selling, and she wants to get it out, but Patricia or Portia or whatever her stupid name is, she doesn't want to answer her questions, so she's just sitting there, she's fiending to get out her idea, and all of a sudden she just lets one rip, a big old stanky one.
That did not just happen.
I'm not even allowed to say it, at least according to the Mighty Bees troop. I can't say fart. You know, they treat it like that, and she ends up in court, and she's got to stand trial for ripping that stank ass, and eventually she has to admit to the crime, and she is kicked out of the Mighty Bees, all for ripping a big old stanky one, because a girl should not dealt it. Oh dear. Doesn't that sound like an Oscar-winning type episode right there, an Emmy? Oh my god, it was beautiful. So, she goes around town just being stinking bottom, and she's at this like diner with her friends, and again, this is the one scene that has haunted my memory of this show ever since, where she's sitting in this chair and she gets off of it and it releases just a little bit of a fart noise. Ah! Yeah, a little toot noise. Oh god. Ah. And she says it was the chair, and that memory has been living deep inside of me for so long. It's so weird to see something like that again. I can finally feel like a complete and whole person, and so she just starts getting more and more depressed. She doesn't want to be anything, but that's when the honeybees learn that without Bessie, they don't get to go on field trips, they don't get to be good bees, they don't get to do anything, because she was basically running everything. And I thought it was going to have the end of the episode where everybody is just like, you know what, it's okay to rip a big fat stinky one, it's okay to let the ass rip, okay, it's gonna be just alright. That's not where we go with the episode. They try to get her to want to be a honeybee, just repeatedly over and over again with a bunch of different shenanigans, and then eventually she realizes that there is a badge that relates to releasing a sweet, succulent stinker. So she gets up on top of this big bookshelf in front of everybody outside, and I don't know, there's something inherently weird that I really don't like about watching a child try to rip ass, but nothing's coming out, and she's just sitting there struggling for a while. I don't know, I couldn't imagine sitting there animating such a thing and being like, oh yeah, this is great, I really love my life right now, oh yeah, let me draw her struggling to push one out. I don't know, it's just a little bit weird. Eventually her dog rips ass, so everybody thinks that she did it, and she gets her badge, and she is back in the honeybees, and that's the entire episode. And again, don't really know how to feel about that. I've definitely seen worse in my life. It's just, it's odd. The episode does have some good, some bad, some weird, so I'm gonna go ahead and rate this one a solid 4 out of 10. You know, in my brain it was a 1 out of 10, and upon rewatching it over a decade later, I could safely say that it's a solid 4 out of 10 episode. My DB is definitely a lot different than I thought it was going to be. To be honest, it is a little bit cringe, but I feel like a younger version of myself would find Bessie's antics, her overbearing characteristics, to be a little bit endearing and actually make up for her being a good character. I don't know, I just don't really see myself ever actually wanting to watch the show. There are some good episodes, there are some bad episodes, and I feel like I missed out on a lot of the good in this video, but then again, I don't know why I would ever choose to watch this over anything else. If you think about when this was airing around 2008, Nickelodeon didn't really have anything that great going on. If you're not looking at like live action shows, you just basically have the Avatar: Last Airbender ending and then Fairly Odd Parents, and if Fairly Odd Parents was like my only choice, I would click on that and then I would go back to Cartoon Network. I never really see myself choosing a show like this, but it's definitely fine. If I was to rate the show as a whole just from the 5 episodes I watched, it's just a 5 out of 10. There's nothing abhorrent about it, but there's nothing amazing about it that would make me want to genuinely watch the show on repeat. So overall, not the worst thing I've ever seen, not the best. If you like content just like this, please make sure to like and subscribe. I upload almost every single day, you don't want to miss it. I've missed a few days because I got sick, I went on a trip, all that stuff, so not my usual consistent self, but I got a lot of good stuff coming. I'm going to be ranking every single SpongeBob movie, ranking all the open season movies. I'm going to be covering Invincible, which drops tonight if you're watching this the day that it comes out. I'm going to be covering that, going to be covering the new episode of Amazing Digital Circus. I'm going to be doing something called Animated Gauntlet, which is something you should be very excited for. Just lots to come on the channel. No stopping anytime soon. I appreciate every single one of you guys. Thanks for sticking around. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.